differently given just one starting image, just a raw image? What would people do to edit it? So I will post something on one of the Google Drive folders, because there's one that's like, I think it's 2022 information or something like that. So I'll probably stick it in there because there's nothing else there. It'll be a DNG, which is a raw file. So as far as I know, everything should be able to open it. I think the one I'm going to use is I did a shot this morning of the Overton Stock Farm building that they're now using for their distillery. And there's room around it if you wanted to add things. You can change things, take out things, change colors, as long as you can tell that was the original file. So you can, I think it's actually relatively straight, but if you wanted to make it crooked, you could make it crooked. But that's probably the one that I'm gonna put in, and whatever I do, I will stick it in probably by either late tomorrow or Wednesday. So you've got a couple of weeks to work on it.
Oh, sorry.
Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, does to me.
And then if we can create a tag, like one of those flare things on Reddit, if everybody posts it using Edit Palooza for the flare, then we can just go through them that night.
Okay.
And if something is like, how did you do that? Then people can say how they did it.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll do the flare on Reddit.
Okay.
Take notes while you're doing it.
Yeah,
What was that going to be at the next SIG meeting you said? I
yes,
missed that first part. Okay.
which is June 30th. And
Okay.
I also have the tips and tricks thing that night.
Okay.
And so since I don't know how long the Edit Palooza is actually going to take up, is it okay if I do like I think it's about
Whatever.
a 12-minute video?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll jump into that first and do the for the meeting night. We'll jump into that first and get that in and taken care of. And then the tips and tricks and Jim's news we can alter if we have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whichever way.
All right. That sounds good. I'm looking forward to that one because it'd be interesting to see how we all edit the same photograph.
Yeah.
So July, that'll take care of the month of June. So that's our outing, our SWIG meeting. July, we have the How to Critique Photos by Margie Jenke.
Margie Jenke.
I said
Yeah.
Margie.
Okay.
No, I said Margie.
What I will be doing is sending out something before that where it's a list of what we're going to look for when we're critiquing.
Okay.
And if we can get it out to everybody, not just on Reddit, but to all the members, that will be
If-
great. And I'll
if
be
you-
working on that.
Once you have that list together, get it out to Beth and she can
The way they can,
copy and paste it into the weekly thing.
yeah, and then somebody, and that way people can go ahead and either download the list or they can print it out because
Yeah,
they'll
we-
be using that list that night.
Yep. Yeah, we can figure that's cool. And then our SWIG meeting for July is going to be the Luminar AI and Neo. And that is Jim Murphy taking care of that one.
Yep.
And then we're going to the Old Economy Village, which we've been trying to go to this place for a couple of years now. It seems like every time we put it on there, something happens, we end up having to cancel it or something. But we're going up there on Sunday, July 17th. So I'm looking forward to that one. I don't remember ever being there myself personally. So I'm kind of looking forward to going to that one.
It's kind of like a miniature Williamsburg, if you will.
Really? That sounds cool. I'm interested. And then we'll work on that one for August for the outing in August. But that's what we got coming up over the next, the rest of this month and next month.
July 23rd is a station Saturday,
Which one, July
July 23rd.
23rd. All right. What are we doing this time?
Yeah. It's a
To be
surprise.
announced.
It's a surprise to everyone, including Marty.
Marty.
I mean, we could work on lights because we didn't do that last time. We could do, I have been watching some kind of neat lighting stuff, so we could do lighting. I was
Okay.
hoping to have a model the last time, but that didn't work. And I don't know that my granddaughter, oh, she might be back.
I
don't
thought
know.
y'all did that lighting and you used,
Well, we were supposed to, but we worked on homework instead.
They worked on their
Because
homework for the basic class.
Yeah, because only 2 people showed up, so
yeah.
it got switched around a little bit. So we worked on some motion stuff and trying to use our iPhone, and Suzanne was getting motion blur from motorcycles going by. So, yeah.
I do want to bring it up that I do have, I don't remember if it's October, November, whenever, the one about the time lapse. I may not be able to do that one this year, but in the place of it, I really want to do the one on creating brushes. So I thought I'd throw that up there.
Okay, so that's the December one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
You want me to
I
take
may
that
be
off?
able to get the other, but I really can't see with all of the stuff that I'm going through to be able to get out there, because it takes me an hour or so for each photo, just taking it. And I may, well, I take like 500 photos at the time. I set up my camera for 500 photos on 3 seconds and stuff like that. So I may not have that kind of time.
You want me to take that off and put in the brushes now?
Yeah, could you, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, the next year?
Like the
I can-
Photoshop custom brushes and textures, is that the one you want?
Yeah, yes. Custom, yeah, creating custom photo brushes.
Okay.
But I have it pulled up, so I'll just add that right now.
Okay,
All right.
there was one other thing I was gonna bring up and didn't write it down, because to me, this is the first Monday of the month. Let me think. Oh, I'll get to it if whatever it is.
Well,
All right.
while Margie's thinking, DL sent out an email earlier today to just a few of us. And it had to do with a sale on the Adobe Photography Cloud package. DL, I don't recall the details. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, it's B&H has it's going to be full price, $120, but they're also giving you a $20 gift certificate. That's basically the deal.
So that's for what, a year or?
For a year, yeah.
Okay, so it's the cloud package, so which meaning I'm not sure what that is. Can you enlighten us? Or at least enlighten me?
Yeah, that's not the one with the large cloud storage. It's only 20 gigs of cloud storage.
Okay,
And basically it's Lightroom Classic, Lightroom, what was that?
it's probably Lightroom Classic, Lightroom, and Photoshop
Yeah,
would be my guess. Okay.
yeah.
So for $120, and then you get a $20 gift card for B&H, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, makes sense.
What I was gonna bring up is just a thought, because I've had several people ask me if we teach cell phones, if we have any classes, so people can learn how to take photos with their cell phones. It's a thought. Maybe it doesn't have to be a lot of classes, but enough to teach them more composition and etc. But people are wanting to learn how to use their cell phone to take good photos. So I thought I'd just bring it up, throw it up in the air, and maybe we can have, classes on that. So many people use just their cell phones.
Mary Ann's getting to be an expert at that.
Who?
Mary Ann.
Oh,
Yeah, she's doing pretty good with hers.
Yeah, that's all she uses is her cell phone.
Yep. Okay.
but I just thought it was a good idea. Maybe we could get more people joining our club by expanding it with cell phones, even though we all use our cell phones. You
Yeah.
could bring in another class, like beginning, photography class. We can have, cell phone class.
Okay.
Is there anybody that knows enough about cell phones to teach the class?
It's actually more, I think, about composition and etc. versus how to use it, because I have a 7 and I think Brian probably has the 12 or 14 or whatever the latest one is out. So it's more like how to, your composition and etc.
Well, I mean, we could probably do that in a 1 or 2 meetings, honestly, or 1 or 2 classes or something like that. It wouldn't have to be anything major.
No.
Actually, that might be a good addition to if we were to do anything again at Jim, where did I teach that class at? I went blank.
Oh, yeah,
Annistown?
Annistown. Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
We could possibly add that as if we were to do that again, we could add that as a addition
A
to
week
that
class or a 3 or 4 day class or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, because it wouldn't take much to go through with cell phone photography.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, introduce them to Lightroom, because just recently I had another person come up to me about that, and I told him, just join the WPS, you'll learn everything.
that's right, because we know everything.
That's right. And I wasn't going to tell him different.
Yeah, we could look into that as far as something we could add in the future. Sure.
Yeah.
Jim, did you have anything for us this evening? You usually have a few announcements of some sort.
This will be hard for you to believe, I know, but my page is blank today.
Oh,
Oh,
My goodness.
All right.
Wow.
Well, then let me ask this. Did you get any takers on helping out with that? Who's doing the show? I'm sorry. I think we did figure that
Marty.
out.
Marty has volunteered to be the coordinator for the Greensburg show this fall. Yes.
Okay.
And he's going to be her assistant.
I do remember that now. We did solve that issue earlier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, and then, yeah.
Thank you, Marty.
I'm sorry?
I said, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I say that like that because I just was, on Friday, I was diagnosed with Lyme's disease, so.
With lung what?
with
Oh, Lyme disease. That's
Yeah.
right. You were. How are you
Yeah.
feeling? Better?
Not 100%. My throat feels better, but I have no energy. I take a nap every day, or 2 or 3. But yeah, I'll find the energy to do it.
Well, and he's there to back up, so that'll help some too.
I'll be fine. I know, Jim, you wanted to get together and give me the stuff you have already.
Yeah,
Contact information.
I'll contact you shortly. The people at the Arts Center want to sit down and have a brief meeting with us sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, that's fine. I can do it.
Okay. All right. Well, Margie, did you want to do a little, what I need to talk about as far as action photography goes? I got a couple videos and we're going to look at some photos.
Well, we could do that first, and if we
um,
run out of time, then we can go to the critiquing.
Okay, let me say, because I only need maybe, I don't know, 45 minutes or so at the most, probably. So we can do that. I can, I think, let me just double check and make sure I have everything queued up here where I want it to be. That one, and that's good. Okay. All right, I got everything kind of queued up where I want it to be. So I'll start out by saying that I know that I've talked about action photography as I sat down and started going over this one for this meeting. I thought, I think I'm the only one that's ever given to talk about action photography with the WPS in the last 20 some years. And I'm not sure why that is, but I need to stop volunteering for that one, I think. And in the past, I've always talked about action photography as far as sports or racing or something like that. So for Margie specifically, tonight's action photography is going to be about taking pictures of your dogs.
Oh, love it.
So I thought it'd be something a little bit different, but we'll look at some other pictures and stuff of other things that are that I would consider action photography. Action photography doesn't have to be a sports. It doesn't have to be basketball, baseball, football. It doesn't have to be racing. It doesn't have to be, there's a lot of other things that you can consider action. So I went through some of my old photos and put some of them together. And I think we'll take a look at them after we watch a couple of videos. We'll take a look at some of those photos. And I want your opinion as to whether or not you would consider it an action photo or an action photography style of photo. But I found this girl and she has two videos. The first video is one that she put together while she was in lockdown. And she talks about some of the settings and stuff like that for action photography. So it's a little bit boring, but I cut out the first like 4 minutes of it or something like that, because that part was really boring. And then the second part is she goes out in the field with her dog and shows actual taking of action photos and settings and stuff like that. So we'll take a look at those two videos and then we'll take a look at some pictures and go from there. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. And I see that in the chat, DL dropped the link to that coupon where you get the $20 gift card if you buy the $120 plan from Adobe Creative Cloud. So that link is in there if you were looking for that. All right, let me see here. Let me share my screen. And again, I'm working with one monitor, so you guys got to. I haven't done this in ever, I don't think. Optimize. Okay. And hold on 1 second. Dennis just popped in. Let me get him there. He's coming in. Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen. And I don't have a clue what you guys are seeing. Are you seeing WPS
Nothing.
Meeting in the middle?
Yeah, we
Okay.
got.
Now do you see?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't see you guys at all now at this point. So. Okay, so this is like I said, I cut the first 4 minutes out, and this girl is talking about some of the settings and whatnot that she uses in her camera. And the settings can be transformed from one camera to the next. So they're not all for a Nikon or for a Canon or whatever. So, and I like the way she talked about, I think she talks about 3 different camera brands. So as she's talking about her settings. So let's watch this part and then we'll watch the next part.
On to section 2 of this video. So we're going to cover the settings. There are many different ways to shoot action, many different settings that you can use. However, I personally believe that these settings that I'm about to run through with you are kind of like the basics. So you want to really get used to using these, nail them before you use any other action settings. And that's something that's really important because everybody has their own way of shooting action and nobody's way is particularly better or worse. What you can do is just make sure that you are nailing the basic fundamentals. And I think if you can shoot with the settings that I'm going to go through with you today and do really well and practice and get good at it, you will nail pretty much every action picture you're ever asked to take. That's a big claim. I'm aware that that is a big claim, but I trust you guys to put what I say into practice and make it work. So the first thing that we're going to go through is the focus modes, and I'm going to split these into 3 distinct brands. We've got Nikon, Sony and Canon. I'm going to do it in Nikon, Canon and Sony though, that order, because that works best. So on a Nikon camera, you're going to want to be on AFC, that is autofocus continuous. So AFC, make sure that you can find that on your camera. If you're not sure, just find it in the manual. The manual will talk you through how to set that up on your camera. In a Canon, we're going to want to be on AI servo, that is continuous focus mode on a Canon. So AI servo, make sure that you've got that set up. And on a Sony, you're going to want to be on AFC again. So they're the same, autofocus continuous. When you've got that sorted, let's move on to the focus area. So the focus area essentially is where in that frame the camera is going to pick the focus, and most cameras will have some form of automatic focus setting, others will have a semi-automatic focus setting, some will have tracking settings, but every single one of them has the setting that we're going to discuss today, which is the single point. So using a single point or spot focus mode basically means that you get a little point that you can move around the screen and put wherever you want, and then the focus will only track what is in that point. So in a situation where you've got a dog running straight towards you, you would just keep that point on that dog's head and track the dog with your hand as the dog comes towards you. If you're panning, so you've got a dog moving sideways, you would just make sure that that point locked onto the dog, and then you, with your camera, followed the dog as it went across the screen. That is pretty much all there is to it. We use point focus because it trains you to be extremely accurate in where you're placing the focus and how you're tracking it. So there is an element of hit and miss because as you're practicing, you're not going to be able to track the dog particularly well. However, with some practice, you become extremely good at it. On a Nikon and on a Canon camera, you're going to want to be looking for single point mode. So single point is that single shot. Go and try and find it in your manual. And if you're on a Sony, you're going to want to be looking for flexible spot. Flexible spot is the same thing, just in a different camera make. It's not really any different at all. And you want to choose the smallest option on a Sony camera. That really is the basic settings for capturing action. However, there are a few other things that will help you out and improve your hit rate. And those things go into 3 different groups, I guess. So the first thing that can help with your hit rate is using back button focus. You probably will have heard of back button focus at some point or another within your photography journey. Essentially, it means that you allocate a button on the back of the camera body itself to be your focus activation. So that leaves the trigger, the shutter button, to be used just to take the picture. That can help you out because it means that you don't have to refocus all the time to recompose. You can track your focus and then just shoot when you want to. It just makes it a lot simpler and a lot quicker. It takes a bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, you will never go back. I can promise. I feel like that was a big promise. Okay, so the next setting is pretty much specific to Nikon cameras. However, there may be an alternative within your cameras, and this is very important. So please do take note and check your camera settings with this one. So focus tracking with lock on is a really good piece of kit within Nikon cameras, but as standard, focus tracking with lock on is set to be kind of default. Default settings don't work very well for dogs or any form of fast moving subject, to be honest. So you're going to want to go into your camera settings and use your manual to find it, and you are looking for focus tracking with lock on. You are looking for focus tracking with lock on, and within that you've got 2 options usually on a Nikon camera. They are blocked shot AF and subject motion. So blocked shot AF has a number scale. What you want to do is move that point to 1. So either 1 or 2, depending on how good you are at tracking the dog within the lens and within the frame of the picture. What this does essentially is you are making the autofocus system quicker in terms of how quickly it refocuses within the scene. And this is great, but also bad. It's good because it means if you can hold your focus in the right place at the right time for the right duration on the dog, you're pretty much guaranteed to get a high hit rate. It is bad because if you go slightly off of the dog, the camera will immediately refocus on whatever's in the background. So just bear that in mind, get really good at it. But for now, set it at 1 or 2. The second point is subject motion, and we're going to want to set this to erratic because dogs are a bit erratic, and that again will help to speed up the autofocus responsivity within the camera. I hope that makes sense. Please do try those settings, especially if you shoot with a Nikon camera. With a Sony camera, you're going to want to use the IAF tracking, brilliant piece of kit, and yeah, use that, have a practice and see the results that you get from that. Okay, so that wraps up the settings portion of this video. So the last thing, the only thing left to do is to shoot. To shoot action pictures, you're going to want to do a few things. So first of all, you're going to want to set up based on the environment and the light available. We want to be using manual mode where possible because it gives you the most control over the final image. If you're not used to using manual mode, please do watch the exposure triangle video, which I will link above. If you're fine with using manual, just make sure your exposure is set when you head out. All that's left to do really now is to test our settings. So you want to make sure that your autofocus setting is on a continuous mode, either AFC or AI servo for the models that we've gone through today. So the next point is to make sure that you've got your focus point, that single point, in an area of the frame which works well for the environment and the composition, and then you want to make sure that that point is on the dog as the dog is moving. You want to make sure that it stays on the dog. That's probably the most important thing. Once you've got set up, your settings are perfect and you are ready to go ahead, you want to make sure that you wait to take the shot. What do I mean by wait? Well, guys, by wait I mean don't spray and pray. Spray and pray is a method of photographing action where you just press the shutter and let it reel off a load of pictures. But what that absolutely does not do is improve your skill and ability to take good action pictures. So you really want to make sure that you are holding fire and hold on to it until the last possible moment before you press the button. And then really you only want to let off between 1 and 3 shots, never more. If you look back at your pictures and the dog looks a million miles away, then you shot too soon and you need to hang fire for a little bit longer. It takes a while to get a steady hand on that shutter button, but it does make a big difference and it pays dividends for the final images. And the final point to note when you're shooting with the settings that we've explained today is to make sure that with your hands, you're following the movement of the dog. A dog's stride pattern tends to go up and down. It undulates slightly as they're moving at speed. So you want to make sure that you're compensating for that by also moving in the same way so that that focus point really does stay on the head of the dog. So you just want to make sure that you practice with as many different dogs as possible doing these things. Pretty much that encompasses and covers everything that we need to go through today in terms of photographing dogs in action. It will apply to any form of action photography that you're shooting with today.
All right, so those were her recommendations on settings, which, like I said, I kind of thought were
Pretty good.
pretty good and nicely explained. And I did not know, with all I know about with Nikon cameras, I didn't know about those 2 settings that she talked about specifically for the Nikon. I'm going to go in and try those just to see how they work out. So I will let you know with my experiment how that works out for action photography. All right, so good.
With the new Canons, they have the eye tracking as well that you can put on. So
Okay.
as you can track the eye of the animal.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing what you think of that and then tell me where those settings are.
Me, Melissa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I will let you know. All right. So the
Brian,
yes, Jim.
I'm sorry, Brian, before you go on. So the last point she made, I don't shoot dogs, so maybe for dogs, it's a great idea. But sports photography, her suggestion not to use a burst mode, you're going to miss shots without using burst mode.
Well, yes and no. Her suggestion was not to not use a burst mode, but it was not to just hold your button down and take a whole bunch of pictures and pray for the best. It was what
Right.
was what she really said. She said to shoot in burst modes, but take only 3 to 4 pictures at a time. Did you?
Kind of,
Yeah. Did you catch that part, Jim?
I did not hear that part.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, you
So-
kind of got to get into the mode of what your subject's doing too. Like, that's what she's basically talking about.
Right. So I can tell you from experience as far as shooting sports photography and photographing football, there was many times where I took 4 or 5 pictures and left. I was done. I knew I had a picture. So I didn't do that. I have never subscribed to the let's take 1,000 photographs and hope we get something out of it. But
Well, let's use your football analogy.
Okay.
Let's say you were following a receiver and a pass is thrown to him. You know, in my mind, there's certain positions of the ball versus the position of the hands and the receiver where I would think it would be an ideal shot. And for me to just hope and pray that I snap once and get that is really not very realistic. Whereas if I do a
I don't
burst,
think that's what she was saying, Jim. I think what she was saying was you want to wait till the action peaks. Don't just push the shutter the whole time while the receiver's running and going for the ball. Like when you know he's going to catch the ball and it's peaking, hit it and do 4 or 5 shots.
yeah,
And to your
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can,
then you may hit the right one.
and you can tell by watching your receiver when that ball's coming.
Yeah.
right.
If you're watching one person and you're following them with the camera, you can see when the action's about to happen.
Yes, and I can say from this experience of photographing football and stuff like that, you get to notice that stuff. And the more you do it, the less you have to shoot to get the picture, because you know what's happening. You get an idea of what's going on in the game at what time, at what point, which direction the ball's going to go, and all that kind of stuff. So you learn that with practice and going over it and over it and over it to get to that point. And then you get
And
to the point where you only have to take 3 shots and you know you've got the picture.
I don't know about you, Brian. Do you use both eyes?
Yes.
See, I do too. When I'm doing some sort of action shot, I have both eyes open.
So, yeah, and what
Yeah.
Melissa's talking about is if you've been taking photos for a long time and closing one eye to look through the viewfinder to take pictures, and then you go to take pictures of sports, and I tell you, hey, you're better off having both eyes open. It takes a little while to get used to that, but it will help you in sports photography. I can tell you that for sure. For 2 things. One is it'll help you to see what's going on and help you to get the picture. The second thing is if there's something happening in front of you, you have a better chance of seeing it and getting the heck out of the way.
That's very true.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been
Yes.
I've been hit by basketball several times. Because when I first started out, I was shooting with one eye closed, and you don't see a basketball coming at you, but man, when it hits you, you know it.
This is making me think about a Steeler game that was a couple of years ago. I think now some guy had about a 300 or 400 millimeter lens, maybe 5, and he got hit and it broke the damn thing in half. He just absolutely broke it in half.
Yes.
So keep the eyes open.
Which is tough for us left-eyed people too.
Yeah.
People with only one eye. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to have
I
fun.
kind of do both. It depends on really what I'm trying to do at the time. But there comes a moment when you do need both eyes open or you're just not going to see what's happening.
Yeah. And
Well, my right eye is not usually looking somewhere as useful because my left is on the viewfinder. Yay, genetics.
You're opening both eyes won't do any good because all you're going to see is the back of your camera. But Another thing though, Jim, that I did learn taking sports photography is that if you actually seen the moment that you were trying to capture through the camera, you missed the photograph.
Unless you're shooting mirrorless.
Unless you're shooting mirrorless, yeah. But back then, that was one of the first things they taught me when I started the news photography for photographs or for sports, was that if you seen it through the camera, you missed it.
And that's true.
Yeah. So, but it's one of them things, you get used to it and you practice it. The more you practice it, the easier it'll get. And you'll get to the point where, like I said, I used to photograph 4 football games in one night at 4 different schools in 4 different areas. And I had the opportunity to go there and shoot, I don't know, 8 or 10 photos total and move on, because I had to make it to the next school. And I would come back every night with photographs that were printable in a newspaper, showing the action from all 4 schools, no questions asked. And the other photographers would get so mad at me for doing that, because they would go and spend a half a game there and come back with 1 picture, if they had that. So anyhow, I don't know if that answers your question or not, Jim.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought she said don't use burst. And
Yeah.
if your definition of burst is 3 or 4 shots, I'm on board with you.
Yeah. And that's what she said, because if you know, there was a point there where they popped up on a screen and said, for Nikon's use, I can't even remember the name of it at this point. High shutter speed, or high
speed shutter.
No, that's not what I'm
Yeah,
trying to do.
yeah. Continuous. Yeah.
Continuous high is what she said to use.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just thing on the Canon. She called it was high-speed continuous mode, which
Yeah,
is the
so-
burst mode. So
And,
yeah, same
and
thing.
I can tell you that with my camera, if you have it on continuous high, if you push the button down, you took 3 pictures before you let go of it.
Yeah.
You know,
And I don't see anything wrong with that.
No.
I really don't. Not when you're doing something like what we were doing the last couple of days.
right.
You still, first of all, the way I see it is, you need to know what's coming. You really need to know what's coming. You can see after a while, you get used to it, depending on what your sport is or what your object is that you're going after, birds, anything. You need to get a feel for when it starts, when it's going to be at its apex, and when it's going to be too late. And why I like using a continuous shooting, where I push down on the shutter once and it wraps them off as fast as I can. I'll say I'm hoping that first one was where my talent was, that I thought that is where I need to be. Here it comes. It is in a way Kentucky windage. I'll call it that. I'll call it Kentucky windage. And when you see it, you press down and you go for it. But I like knowing that there's going to be a couple shots that come after that, because if for some reason I missed what I wanted, maybe I was a little too soon, maybe I was a little too late, and if I was holding it down, I managed to get it. So, or something like that is in there. And we're only talking about 2 seconds, 1 second, where at a shutter speed of, say, like 1/2000th of a second, that you're rattling off 3 or 4 shots. That's really not a lot of time. And the most time is going to be looking at it on the monitor. That's when you start seeing where you start deleting stuff out. But the idea is that if you had it covered, it's in there. It's in there somewhere. Your equipment did the job. It focused. You had it in the finder, and you got what you wanted. And that's why I say I like the idea of the insurance of. I'm not afraid to say, if I've got 2 or 3 or 4 shots on there, that's fine. That's fine, because I know if I did it right, it should be in there.
Yeah.
And it's not always there.
Yep. All right. So let's move on to taking some pictures of her dog. So she, after was allowed out of the house where she lives, she went out and she did the second part of this video to actually show taking pictures. So we'll start there and watch a little bit of that.
Screen. Well, guys, the screen literally just records my settings in the camera. That's all it does. Don't use it unless we're recording. So we're going to go head out and utilize the knowledge that we learned in the theory section. If you have not watched that first video, it is worth a watch. I know I'm saying that as me, but I think it is worth a watch. So go ahead and watch that. We will link it above. Oh, dear me. So we've got Bright with us. We're going to go and head into one of my favourite woodland locations to find a track that we can use for action photography. We are going to be in a woodland. This is easier to do, a lot easier to do outside in a kind of an open space. So just remember that. We are going to be using a Sony a7R III today, and we're going to be using the Sony GM135 1.8 lens. Because it is super fast, I've already discussed this lens before. I will link to that video above as well. All of the links to everything that I've got here will be in the description below. But yeah, we're going to be using this kit. It doesn't matter what camera you have, but as the previous video on this topic has already said, you will get a higher hit rate the more expensive / professional your camera is. However, even if you've got the best camera body in the world, your hit rate is very, very rarely going to be 100% of all shots taken. So just bear that in mind. I'm not going to go through the merits of individual cameras, but we are going to go find a location and then go and set up. Good. Okay, so we're at a really good track to use just to sort of kind of like get the ball rolling. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up our cameras and take our first shots. Now this track and this whole woodland in the UK in general is absolutely soaking wet at the moment. So it's quite muddy, and there is a muddy patch kind of halfway through, which isn't ideal, but we're going to see if we can work with it either shooting that way or that way. We'll get to that in a second. The first thing we need to do is set up our cameras for shooting action. So
Here goes.
I'm going to drop some weight that I put on in lockdown.
The dog went right through
We
the
need
mud.
to make sure
and
that
kept
we're on
going.
autofocus on the lens and make sure that we're basically using our lenses properly. You can do this with any lens, but the best lenses tend to be fast lenses and sport lenses. So 70 to 200 is usually your best bet. In this instance, this is actually slightly faster than the Sony GM 70 to 200, so we can use that instead. Okay, so you guys should be able to see this screen now. So let me just go ahead and focus on something off into the distance so you can see what I can see. We've got some pretty basic settings up on the screen at the moment. What we're working with is 1/250th of a second, f2.8 and ISO 500. I need to make sure that I've got a action shutter speed. So I'm looking at personally anything over 1/1250th of a second with my dogs, sometimes more than that. So in this instance, I'm going to put that up to 1/1250th of a second. And looking at our histogram, we can see that we are underexposed. I shoot in full manual. I shoot in full manual all of the time because I get more control. So what I'm going to do is just to make sure that we've got some more light coming in. So I could either drop my F number, which is a viable option on this lens because it goes to 1.8. I'm going to leave it at 2.8 at the moment because most of you guys will have a 2.8 lens. And I'm going to go for ISO 1000 maybe. 1000 is good. 1000 will be fine with a black dog coming through there. And what we can try and do is utilise the lighter areas of the track, if that makes sense. That's really just the tip of the iceberg. What we need to do is go through all of our other settings. All of them are detailed in that previous video, but I'm just going to make sure that we are all there and ready to go. So AFC, yes. So our drive mode wants to be on high or high plus. So it's like a burst mode. We take multiple shots in quick succession. And then what we also want to make sure basically is that I use single point focus, usually on small or medium for action, and that is across every single camera make and model. So again, you might do it a different way, that's fine. This is just the way that works best for us. So then what we want to do is, if you've got eye autofocus, you want to make sure that that is on and that it's set to animal eye autofocus. Then you want to make sure that your tracking sensitivity is super high, unless you are bad at aiming, in which case go for probably a standard or 4 on that kind of a scale. So yours might be different, just work with it, okay? You also want to make sure if your lens uses image stabilization, if you're shooting action, you want image stabilization off, not on, because the camera will see the movement in it and try to correct it. We don't want that. We want the movement to be captured as we're capturing it. Hope that makes sense. Just keep it off, image stabilization, for when we're shooting. So with all of our settings all set up, it's time now to introduce a dog. And God, it's been a long time since I've done this, so we'll see how it goes. Are we just yep, okay. Okay, so we're going to basically position ourselves, so we're going to catch her in action on the ridgy bit. Now you guys might not be able to see the ridgy bit, but it's underneath the tree that's kind of leaning over the top. I'll put a pin on that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be on the floor somewhere around this general vicinity. We'll just do some flat running ones first, and then maybe we'll introduce some form of a branch, because Bright is old enough to go over small objects, and therefore we can do the like jumping in the air one if we want to. To make sure that I've got her a reasonable size. Actually, I'm probably a little bit too far away at this stage, but the exposure is looking great. I mean, she's so freaking cute. For action shots, you're best off using your center points, because they're usually fast on DSLRs. On mirrorless cameras, doesn't really matter, but whatever your personal preference is fine. So I'll shuffle forward, so I'm at the tree. I know, Beanie! So, as always, we'll be lying straight on the floor, so we've got this amazing angle. Beanie's there looking all glorious. Is make sure that we can move our focus point around nice and easily. I want Dan to go ahead and put her in a certain way, walk past me, and then recall her. So you can see that Beanie's going to come running up to this mound, this peak that we've got here, and when she's coming over, we'll get our best chance. So what I'm going to do is get my focus point lined up, hold down my earphone, and wait. I'm using back button focus, but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to track her.
Okay. Wow.
That was really bad from me. Okay, so I'm going to try and do a much better job of tracking her here. That was not good from me. She's a little bit low on that ridge. So keep your arms and wrists nice and loose. Nice and loose, nice and loose. When you're ready, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, so do you see how I'm moving myself to track her? I'm not letting the camera make that decision. It's going to have a really quick look. Remember what I said about hit rates? So she could do running a little bit straighter, if we're being honest. And that's our shot. Perfect. Go on.
Okay.
Wow. Good girl. Yeah, wow. So I'm only releasing 2 or 3 shots a time, and I'm making those shots really count. That's another one. Perfect. Let's go and look at a different location and try something different. Oh, dearie me, I'm getting old. Okay, so basically I've been left in charge of the camera, which is just not safe or appropriate. So we've literally just moved here from there. And what we're going to do is Dan's going to hold Beanie as though she's a client dog that cannot be doing weights and stuff. So he's going to hold her about there, really, to be honest, where she is. So they're there, but we've got that log. Dan is going to hold the dog. When I say go, he lets her go. I make loads of noise and she runs directly to me. Beanie's going to pop over the top of this log. Now, I need to be ready for that, so I would lift up slightly just so I can grab the focus. Now, as soon as Dan lets Bright go, Dan's going to dive. Probably that way. I've got a squeaky ball in my hand, which she now knows I have. Jessica needs to do better here. Ready? Go! Yay! The good girl!
Wasn't it? Wow.
Let's see what we're working with here. That's looking good. Oh, Beanie.
So I just flick through those. Beanie's done for the day. She's done a super job. Do that, you'll get a sharp action photo and everything will be fine. So the main thing to remember about action photography really is that it is next to impossible to get a 100% hit rate. Those of us who do often have super expensive cameras. Main thing is to practice. Just keep practicing. You can never practice too much at something like this. I'm very rusty. The last time I did action, Dan, when was the last time I did action photography? But this is a skill that everybody should know because it's all about the theory. And as soon as you've learned theory, you can apply it to anything that you need to within the field of photography. So with that all said and done, hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please do let me know. Drop down some comments below.
All right, guys, what do you think of that one?
Yeah, that's great.
So Jim, you got to see that she was using a burst mode.
I feel much better. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a must.
But not a spray and pray burst mode of 900 photographs from the time she took off running to the time she passed the camera, is what she was getting at.
I thought it was interesting that she pre-focused on the dog to get to set the focus when the dog was way back. I would have tended to make the focus right where the point was where I was going to shoot the picture, but that wouldn't have worked because it wouldn't have tracked as well. So I think that was it was interesting actually.
I actually learned something because I had been using the back button, and when I was taking the picture, I was holding the back button. So a lot of things weren't in focus because I didn't realize you had to use the back button focus, and then it would continuously focus after that. And so I learned something.
Well, it depends on how you have your button set up, but the way I have mine set up is if you're using AFC, which is autofocus, continuous focus,
Right.
on that, then you have to hold your back button down, but the camera will continuously focus on the point that you have picked out.
So you do have to hold it down
You still have to hold it down.
the
Yes.
whole time. Okay.
Yes.
You have to make sure you're on target too.
The idea of the back button focus is so that you can run your finger on the front button to take pictures up and down with no problem, and it's not going to stop focusing while you're holding down the back button focus.
Okay. So I still learned something. But
Good. That's
So in other words, what you're saying, Brian, is
that
that back button's a one-time focus, basically. You hit it, focus, it's done. So if you
No.
focused on that dog
No.
when he was starting, you would have focused back there and it wouldn't have followed the dog as he got closer to you.
Well,
Right.
with the back button, you still have to hold the camera. You still have to hold the back button down.
That's what I mean. If you didn't hold the back button down, it would be out of focus because your
Right.
focus would have been back where the dog
Right.
started.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
If you're not using back button focus, I suggest you try it, and give it some time to get used to it. Once you get used to it, as she said, and I agree, you'll never go back to the other way.
I've gone to it too. I can't imagine doing it any other way. I love that back button.
Once I got switched over to that,
Yeah.
I couldn't, I honestly, if I pick someone else's camera up that's not on back button focus, I have no clue how to take a picture with it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I thought those were two pretty good videos about action photography that is not sports and not racing for you guys. So, because I've shown sports and racing every time I've given this talk. And Margie, did you like the dog?
I love the dog.
That was a cute dog. All right, so let me pop over to this screen. We're going to take a look at a few of my photographs that fall under maybe action photography, maybe not, but I want you guys to, and like I said, I went through some old photos and brought these up. So you'll see some with my 2.8 photography logo down at the bottom, and some without, and some with the other logo and whatnot. But anyhow, you guys tell me what you think as far as they being action photography photos. And hopefully some of them make you think of twice as to whether or not you would think that it was action or not.
I always looked at action photography as movement. So I may be wrong on that. So he's moving. So that to me is action photography.
Yeah, I would agree. This is down at PPG and in the wintertime whenever they're ice skating. So a panning shot, but a little bit slower shutter speed. So I didn't want him perfectly in focus or anything like that. I wanted to show a lot of movement and everything with the picture. So that's what we did to get to this, to get that picture.
What was your shutter speed on that, Brian? Just
Oh, I would not be able to even think to tell you at this point. That was, like I said, some of these pictures are quite old that I pulled. I would guess probably 15th of a second or a little less.
oh, that low. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I was panning with him, but as you can see, he's still out of focus as well.
Right.
But we still have the movement and the lights and everything as well. So it would have to be a little on a slower side of the shutter speed to get the movement of the lights in the background as well.
Right. Well, if you pan like me, everything's out of focus anyway, so you couldn't tell.
That
All
gives
right.
the impressionist look, and I do like that. That sort of looks familiar.
Yeah, it should. You might have been standing next to me when I took it.
I probably was. That's what I said.
So
Once again, action shot.
that's what I was going to get at. Do you think this is action photography? He's not moving, but there's a lot of action going on in the picture, is how I look at it.
He's doing something.
Right. You got the chainsaw going, you got ice flying all over the place, you know, a different type of action, but still action. So my point being is that action doesn't have to be a football game, a basketball game, a baseball game. It doesn't have to be a race car. It can be a lot of other things.
Activity, I think, is one of the things that comes to mind. It's an activity of some kind.
Right. Something's
Or
going
taking
on, but
pictures
there's
of a toddler.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, unless the toddler's sleeping, and then it's
Yeah.
portrait.
Yeah.
Well, that never happened.
Yeah, it never happens. Once again, action.
Yeah. So this was a while back. I remember taking this. There was a few guys that were doing some dancing in the market square. And I like this one just because the guy had the yellow socks on, and I had to just do, back then I had to do the single color thing, and I thought the yellow socks were really cool.
I do too.
The fact that he's on his head was pretty cool too. He was spinning around. But I stopped the action in this one, so I didn't show as much motion, but you can, get the idea of what was going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely action.
Yeah. Another panning shot. And you don't have to have everything in focus on a panning shot to make it work. I think this one works pretty good, even though I don't think there's anything in focus on the picture. Maybe a little tiny spot in the front grill, but
Yep. Definitely action.
I think I know that rock.
it's down a little ways from your other rocks, but yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the Westmoreland Fairgrounds.
Is that on a tripod?
Yeah. This is a tripod, long exposure. My goal with this one was to get all 4 rides moving at the same time. So there's the one in the I'm pointing at it like you guys can see what I'm pointing at.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. So you got the one on the left-hand side where the top's spinning,
Mhm.
and then the one right behind that where the top's spinning. Then we got the Ferris wheel that's spinning, and then to the right we have the roundup, or I call it the roundup. They call it the Inferno. Same thing. That's spinning as well. So It actually, believe it or not, it was harder to get all 4 of them spinning at the same time than you would think, because it seemed like every time I tried to take the picture, one of them was loading people in it. So
I
They're
like,
always offset.
what's that?
They're always offset with when they're loading and
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to do stuff like that too. And that would be another August thing though,
Exactly.
'cause
Exactly.
that's August usually.
Yeah, it's 17th. It's right around my birthday, that's how I know.
Okay.
Brian, if you had a longer exposure on that one, would the people have disappeared as well?
On
If
this
you're
one
able-
here?
Yes.
Well, yeah. If you look to below the roundup or inferno, you see the people, there's 3 people standing there with shorts on, 2 pairs of pink shorts and a pair of black shorts.
Right.
If you look a little bit to the left of that, see those little ghosting type things? Those are people walking through.
I like the fact that there's stationary things in there that are in focus.
Right. So the people that you see them because they weren't moving. So this was a long enough exposure to make people disappear. But because those people were standing still and they were watching their friends or their kids or whatever riding their rides, you can't get rid of them. If they were all moving at the same time, on that exposure, or maybe a hair longer exposure, they would all be gone. You wouldn't see them at all.
Yeah, that would have been a nice shot. Nobody there and the machinery going around and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice shot.
Thank you.
The rest
Another
there is the 19th through the 27th.
Of August?
Yes,
Okay.
19th through 27th.
I'm writing that down.
Me too.
Okay. And back to the picture here again. This is one of the guys that was dancing down there. Stopped the action, but I still think it's an action photo.
Yeah.
And the guy's in I don't know, some dance move or whatever. I don't know what he was doing. He was spinning around too. Back to the water up in Ohio Powell. One of my favorite places. I love to go photograph these guys in the river up there.
It's also an action shot.
Yeah. So we got some stuff going on. This was down at over in Rice's Landing at the W.A. Young Foundry. Guy was making something and he needed to do a little grinding. And I took the opportunity to get that grinding going on. I thought that was pretty cool. But you can see the action, see what's going on. There's my buddy Skid Mark. You guys know.
Yeah.
I can't not show you photos and end up showing you at least one from the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah.
And you can't beat having Skid Mark and Wilson in the same picture together, usually with a ball of fire at some point.
A ball of fire looks like a cow head.
I think having a ball of fire near Skid Mark is dangerous itself.
This could be true. Yeah.
I love the expression on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one, I do believe, DL, I do believe when I took this picture, I had flashes on the stage in different places.
I remember that one.
Because there was a couple times where I took several flashes and did the off-camera flash thing and put flashes up along the edge of the stage so that I didn't need to shoot flash from back where I was taking pictures at. But I'm pretty sure this is one of those shots. Cannon fire. This is
Fort Ligonier.
no, this is actually this is Old Bedford Village.
Oh, okay.
At one of their reenactments. But this picture here, me looking at it, I can feel the cannon going off. I can feel the burst of it because I know what it was. I know what it felt like when it went off. But you got the fire coming out of there, coming up through. And if you look at the end of the cloud, you got the pieces of whatever that was burning as it's flying through the air. I thought that one turned out pretty good as far as as an action shot.
Brian, as best as you can remember, was this a burst mode? I mean, shot
Absolutely.
because it's so perfect.
Yes, absolutely. I can guarantee you that I can't take that with one picture.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I might luck out and get it, but no, these are always shot, but in a small burst, 4 or 5 shots, 3, 4, 5 shots at the most, and you're done because it's already happened,
Right.
And then we go back and look and see if we caught it. And if we didn't, we wait for him to fire the cannon again, and try to get it a second time. But yeah, definitely a burst of probably 3 to 4 shots.
No.
Little baby.
Yeah, these were several years back. We were down there as a group taking pictures, and I caught these two having a little fun. And I think I titled this "Foot in My Mouth," but I kind of like to, you can tell that they're playing, having a good time. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
They might
they're
be killing each
playing.
other. I'm not sure, but
Oh, I remember him.
yeah, this is at Old Bedford Village. So if you're thinking of going up for the Cowboys, this is probably, you may or may not see him again. I don't know, but this is the kind of thing you'll get to see as a cowboy riding a horse fast through the Old Bedford Village, and get a chance to take some action shots of that going on. Another panning shot. And of course, I got to give you a race car picture or two.
Yeah.
So fun to go watch these guys carry the wheel around the corner and halfway down a straightaway up in the air like that. Lots going on. This was from a while back. This was at Latrobe, though, is where the picture was taken. Same guy here passing somebody. Wheel up in the air. These are late models. These are much faster. These guys were traveling at that point probably about 130 mile an hour.
I hope you had a long zoom for that one.
No, I
It
was
looked like they were
standing.
coming at you.
I was standing about, I don't know, 20 feet or so away from them.
I hope he had both eyes open.
Yeah, Brian.
If you didn't, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a mask too. God, look at all that dust.
I do recommend, if you ever go do this, pick whichever lens you're going to use and don't change it the whole time you're there.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that you're getting dirt inside your camera if you do.
Yeah.
I usually took 2 cameras, one with a long lens, one with a short lens, and that way I could switch from one to the other to do what I needed to do. But yeah, it's a little dusty. It gets dusty. These guys here were going in 125, 130 mile an hour range when I took that photograph.
And you always want to be to the inside of the curve,
It's the safest place to be.
always.
Well, depending on the track, but for the most part, it's the safest place to be. There's
That's
a
neat.
different kind of action. This is a bald eagle taking off from a tree at the National Aviary. We got some cowboys going through the village down there. That was after they robbed the bank. You want to get strange looks? Go sit on a sidewalk in Pittsburgh and take pictures of people's feet.
Yep. I like this.
I did about, I don't know, 35 or 40 different people that day in this same spot. I just set the camera up there and photographed as people walked through the scene. Yeah, I got some strange looks. Okay, that's the last one of my pictures. Anyhow, different types of action as far as what I was trying to get at is that it doesn't always have to be a sports or a race car or something like that. There's all kind of cool things you can do to show action in your photography. All right. We have some, I pulled some pictures on Flickr. I just went into Flickr and I typed in action photos. And I wanted to see what would pop up. And this guy here, I wanted to lead with him. This is an awesome photograph. I like the claws, how sharp they are. And his eyes, I mean, really, really a nice, I'm going to assume, yeah, it's a snowy owl. I think this is a great picture of a snowy owl. But a good action photo, you know?
Do y'all have those owls up here?
Do we have snowy owls?
There can sometimes be some up by Lake Erie.
Okay.
The best places to find them are actually up in New England along the coast.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Which I didn't know when I was up there.
There's a panning shot of one of the boats on a river in some other country. But lots of action going on, lots of movement. Pretty cool.
It can be anywhere, but that design is very common. I was in Bangkok. I was in Thailand, in Southeast Asia for 5 years. And I spent a year in Bangkok and Chiang Mai. And those boats are on the river, boats like that, having that engine. Really, it's like an inboard engine that's on the end of a long pole with the propeller stop out over the water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was looking there while you were
that
talking.
could be Thailand. That
Yeah,
could
I
be
was-
Thailand.
I
I'm
was
sorry.
looking there and I don't speak this language, whatever that is, but, and it doesn't say anywhere specifically where it was taken, but, 1/15
Brian,
of a
it
second.
is. Look at the album. It says Thailand.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. It's in Thailand.
Rest my case.
There you go.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it's a cool action shot. You can definitely, it's got some stuff going on in it. I think it's pretty neat.
The fun spot for me is I have a similar image like that, and it's actually of a beautiful young girl in the boat going along the river. I'll post it on Reddit.
Okay.
So you can
cool.
see. Just a coincidence. Long time ago.
So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that falls under action category?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I think just about every photograph you can think of, with the exception of maybe portraits and a picture of a tree, can fall under action photography. If there's something going on,
Still
it's
life.
action. I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking this guy's taking a picture of the woman and the kid, but it really looks like he's taking a picture down the barrel of a huge gun.
It does.
So
That could be noisy.
I was a little confused by that one, but volleyball, good sport to photograph. A little tougher than you think it would be.
Mhm.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I'm not excited about that picture personally. There you go, Marty. There's a station Saturday.
Yeah.
I have no clue what that is or why that would be considered action, but again, it's Flickr, so. Now this seems to me more, it's not action, but it actually is a portrayal of action figures. Can you guys tell me who they are?
One of them.
All right, so this guy here,
That's Rambo.
Rambo,
Yeah.
there you go. How about her?
Kill Bill from the movie Kill Bill.
Kill
Yeah.
Bill, yep. Her, That's Laura Croft Tomb Raider.
Oh, okay.
Tomb Raider, yeah.
Oh, I'm answering and
Yeah.
I'm muted. Laura Croft, yeah.
Terminator.
Of course, the
Terminator.
Terminator. I mean, we can't go with the term without the Terminator. Now, these two guys here, these can come from several different movies. I'm not 100% sure what their place is there. I was looking to see if it said anywhere real quick, but I was thinking maybe a James Bond movie, maybe Max Payne, a couple other movies I can think of that could possibly be, but anyhow.
The lighting's really good on that.
Oh, yes. I mean, photography wise, it's a really good photograph. I
Yeah, it
mean,
is.
it's well lit. It portrays a lot of stuff, and I think it's a pretty good photo.
Yeah.
I think it's a composite.
It may be.
Yes.
Yeah.
It may be. But it's good.
It's
They've
done
a good job
great.
with it. Yeah. Yep. Is that polo? Is that what they call that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a horse
Well,
show. It's not
horse
polo.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not doing a polo because she has a whip and not a polo stick.
Yep. Okay.
They're probably jumping. They're
Oh,
doing-
yeah.
Jumping or dressage.
Yeah.
Action. Okay. Well, anyhow, I don't know. I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the action photography stuff. Let me stop my share and we're back. So any questions about action photography or anything? Nope. Okay.
When are you going to post that?
Post what?
The recording?
This recording?
Yes.
When I get home tonight, I'm not going to post it from here where I'm at work because I want to
Okay,
get out of here
yeah.
at 9 o'clock or when we're done with the
Yeah,
meeting, I'm leaving
No
here.
problem. Just getting an
Um,
idea.
Yeah,
I
I'll
did write
post
down the
it.
information, so it
Yeah, I'll
helps.
post it later tonight.
Okay.
All right. Well, we got 8:30 here at this point. Margie, did you want to do a little critiquing or does anyone else have anything they want to talk about?
Oh, I just wanted to add your question. Was there anything more on action photography? Doing the kind of photography I was doing over the weekend, and maybe some of you, that I like the idea of using, instead of manual, using shutter priority and letting the aperture make any changes it needs. Because sometimes you're shooting into the clouds, sometimes you're shooting into the sunshine, sometimes you're shooting into the blue sky, and it's all changing. And if you're using manual, you're going to have fun trying to find what works. So the one thing I would add is that if you're doing the kind of action photography where there are major changes in light, that using shutter priority might be easier on you than using manual. Just a
I
thought.
know. Yeah, I know when I shot the airplanes a couple of years in a row, I've
Mhm.
always used manual and got what I wanted. So,
Oh,
but then
okay.
remember, I shoot manual,
Mhm.
period.
Yeah, well, if you've learned to work that way, that's good, and you got what you wanted, which is the most
Yeah.
important thing.
But it is good for the people, who is not specifically 100% manual to do what you were saying. I agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you all know that I'm not big on manual,
Right.
using my camera in manual. I use aperture priority. And I would use aperture priority for all of this as well. But I pay attention to what my shutter speed's doing when I do that. I understand her point in the video of using manual because she's saying, okay, she took some light readings and she said, the the 1000 ISO at 1,250th of a second at f2.8 worked, and that was the right settings for that spot. That's good. And I'm sure she was resetting that as the light changed or the day went on or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I do.
But
I guess the question that I would ask myself if I was shooting in this environment like we did over the weekend, that I was in aperture priority mode. And like you said, yeah, you keep track of your shutter if it looks like it's going too low. But when is that? When you have an F-18 coming over you from maybe 7,000 feet away, and it's only going to be there for a couple of seconds, and it's moving where the background is a white cloud, and it swings around. You swing the camera over. By the way, I put a stool out in the yard that has a swivel on it, so
nice.
that as it flies over, I can turn my chair around and I can just go like that, because this old body is not going to be able to turn around and stay on his feet otherwise. But the point that I'm making is that you make a choice that you know that your shutter speed is going to work. You will have a sharp image in terms of shutter speed, regardless of what it does at 300-400 miles an hour. And your f-stop may not have been exactly where you wanted it, but it might be easier to work with an image that you struggle a little bit with the exposure, or a lot with the exposure, but you still have a sharp image that was the one you wanted. So it's a matter of struggling with getting the aperture versus the sharp picture. So you know you have a sharp picture if you have a shutter. You know it's going to be high speed action. You know you're going to have to use an 800th of a second, 1,000, a 2,000. I was using a 2,000th of a second, and I was a little higher than on the ISO than I needed to be on the practice day. And then on Saturday, I realized I could bring it back down to 1,000. So anyway, these pictures reported, a couple of them are at 1,000 ISO. But if I would rather work with exposure than try to fix a shutter speed that was too slow.
Yeah,
I guess that's my own philosophy.
I agree with you 100%, Rex. And the easier way to do it definitely would be to shoot it in shutter speed priority. It's just that the way I photograph and the way I do things, I'm going to shoot an aperture priority every time, because that's the way my brain works. That's the way and that's the way I do it.
So you're going to have an ISO high enough that makes it results in a shutter speed that will capture it.
Right. I'm going to set an ISO at 1,000 or 1,200 or 2 or 1,200 or something like that. Yeah. And I know that my camera is going to be shooting. I'm going to be shooting at like a 5.6. And I know my camera is going to be shooting at, at a 2,000th of a second or 2,500. I mean, I know what my camera is going to do. It's just, I would choose aperture priority. That's all.
So you know the range. You know the range.
Yeah.
Oh,
as long as you're aware.
As
long as you're aware of what your exposure is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not.
Hey, hi there.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick aperture priority and set it at f22 and go, I know that's going to work. I know it ain't going to work. I've done it enough to know that that's going to work. But it's like I say, it's just the way I shoot. And me and Margie have been through this conversation
a million times.
Because she shoots everything in manual and I shoot everything in aperture priority, but we both get the same photographs.
Yeah. The difference, I think,
we both can do. I mean, it's just the way I do it. That's all.
Yeah.
The difference in my shooting of the airplanes, I think, from your shooting, Rex, is I know where that plane is going to be and I'm ready for it and I wait for it. I don't swivel around. I wait for the plane. So I've got all my settings already set.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching them come down the street towards me, and they're going to fly up over my head, and then I'm going to turn around and get them going the other way. And I am not sure. Well, there is something called the hyperfocal distance, and Beth might be familiar with it using a film, and well, you and Brian, that in the hyperfocal distance, you're presetting what you believe will be the area of focus.
Yeah.
So then you can do everything else accordingly. So that's using what we call what technology calls the hyperfocal distance. You preset the hyperfocal distance.
Yeah, all my
You can do-
presets are there. Yeah.
That's what you're
Yeah.
doing if you're using
Yes.
manual.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I don't
Okay.
swivel. I know where that plane is going to be. You watch it, you study it, and you know you have enough time, but I'm at a different spot than you are.
Yeah, we're talking about different scenarios. Somehow we must be talking about different scenarios because it would be. I wouldn't see. I don't know if I'd be able. I'll be honest. I don't know if I just put it on manual what I would come up with. I need retraining, I guess is what you would say. Retrain. No, but you know what? This is another way to look at it. You know, there's a lot of jazz musicians, and you can recognize the music from each one. Each one is different. I think it's the same way for photographers. They don't play their trumpets or their pianos the same way, you know, and they still come up with beautiful music. And I think it's the same way with photographers. They will do things a different way, shoot the same things in a completely different way, and still come up with what they want.
Yeah.
Well,
It's our art. Yeah.
I'm going to give a suggestion, not a suggestion, what I do, and I know Brian does not approve of this because we've talked about this in the past, but it's a happy compromise between Rex's shutter priority and Brian's aperture priority. I shoot aperture priority, but I also select a minimum shutter speed depending on the action that I'm taking a photo of. And then let my ISO go into automatic and accept whatever it is.
Oh, okay. There is a case where I don't have that option. I would do that. I would do that, but I don't have that option.
You also can limit your ISOs too. So you can tell your camera, hey, I don't want you to go above 2000 ISO because you know that above 2000 it sucks anyhow.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
or whatever
great.
it is. So Jim, I don't disagree with you there as far as putting some limits to the camera and telling the camera to work in these limits is a good idea. And I do use auto ISO from time to time. Not very often, but from time to time. So yeah, I don't completely disagree with you on that one, Jim.
I think the important thing is if somebody told you you had a boss that said, go out and get these pictures, that you would do what you needed to in order to get those pictures. You know how to do it.
Right.
That's the main thing.
Right. And one of the things that I always talk about in our beginners class is that you have to know your equipment.
That's it.
And that's the point of the assignments that I give the beginners class is for them to practice with their equipment and learn how to use their equipment. So knowing how to use your equipment is 3/4 of the battle of taking good photographs. And also knowing the limits of your equipment. Like I said, if you know that above 2000 ISO on your camera, that all the pictures are horrible, don't shoot above 2000 ISO. You know what I mean? Know that ahead of time, or 1200 or 800 or whatever the limit is of your equipment. So anyhow, good discussion.
Yeah.
Well, Margie, we're down to about 15 minutes. Do you want to do a couple critiques or? I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Okay, since we were talking about airplanes, here's one of Rex's.
Rex, you posted it upside down.
Well, look where I put my name in the corner.
Yeah, we.
Actually, if you could pump over to the third picture, I don't know, there's a third one in there somewhere. This fella came damn close to the house, and yeah, the next one over. If you take a look in that cockpit, you can tell what color helmets they're wearing, that they've had the goggles on. And I mean, they just, I don't know how much stuff they left on the lawn when it went by, but it was a lot.
I like this picture now. Really do like it.
Now, I'm telling you, I was sitting on a revolving bench to get this picture. Okay. I was.
I like this picture. I believe I like this picture better than the first one, the one where they were upside down.
Yes, yes, I
I
do.
think this, I just like the angles and the direction and the way the clouds are and everything. I think this is just a better view of that airplane.
Yeah, it's a white background, so your
Yeah.
picture really, your plane really stands out.
Yeah.
And then you've got enough blue in there to know that, you know, it's a sky.
Mhm.
It's not a gray sky.
Right.
That was the 1/2000th of a second. And I think it was F13 and the ISO was 1000. And it was at 200, it was a 70 to 200 millimeter lens at 200. Plus I had a 2X extender on there. So it was full out at 400. I think 400 was in the metadata.
Nice.
Yeah.
The only complaint is the aileron is cut off.
Yeah, but at the bottom, that was as close as that was the best I could do. That was the only frame that, you know, where he was doable.
Yep.
I could have cheated. I could have built the rest of it, but what the heck?
You need a shorter stool.
Yeah. Very good. Very good, Dennis. Yeah. The shorter stool. By the way, the stool is
Let's go to
adjustable
that.
up and
Go
down.
to number 2 on there.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is where I was talking about color earlier today to somebody else. Oh, that's somebody, that's Alan's, I think. Yeah.
Click that, there you
Hit
go.
that little arrow.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the one I want to see.
These were the Jersey jerks that had completed their routine, and they were just on their way back. And this was the one spread that they had tilted their wings just right into the light, because the light was not, as you can see, the gray on the far side, especially in the lower corner. And the amount of sunlight, I wouldn't call it sunlight, but at that point, the brightness was to the right, and it just illuminated the wings so that you could see the colors of the wings. And actually, the resolution was good enough that you could actually see who was in the cockpits of the aircraft. What always disappoints me is there's no way I can actually show them with the blades moving. I'd have to use blur spin on the blades. Photoshop has a spin blur set of filters that you can use to make the blades look like they're spinning, but that's a lot of work for a single shot like this.
Rex, what stops you from using a slower shutter speed?
Yeah. In this case, I probably could have, and I would have gotten that, but the way things were moving, I felt comfortable with the 2000th of a second.
Yeah.
I figured if it came to that, I'd do that, but that's not important. It's not a sales shot or anything like that. So
good shot.
Straightforward.
I can't remember, some of these we did and some of those we did not do. I'm trying to get something from somebody else real quick. Let me just go up here to. What we just went through May. Okay, well, this is Carolyn's. Carolyn's not here, correct? That's
Correct.
Carolyn's. So here's Jim. Is Jim's not here. If y'all see something, just let me know. Oh, we'll just do this one here. Jump in there, somebody. It looks like a baby bird because those look like pin feathers here.
I had to turn my microphone back on. This guy looks like he's had a hard time.
Well, either that or it's a baby bird with the pin feathers still coming in.
No, they're usually spotted in the front. They're not.
Yeah, I think it's an adult. It was just all fluffed up. It had been doing a lot of preening.
Okay, that'll do it.
Needs a whole lot more training, I can tell you that. Because they should be, I mean, the scalp on those should be.
Okay, well, look at composition. I like, there's a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. It's usually something that is looked for in the majority of images, in the majority of photography. Foreground, middle ground, background, and it's there. And the eyes are sharp. You've got that right on the eyes, and you had that very sharp, Candy.
Catch light.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you talk about the people in the tunnel photo?
We sure can.
Oh, that's a nice one.
It's a good image.
That one's cool.
Well done.
Yeah.
Beautifully done.
I like the silhouettes about it. I like the way the lighting is in there. What tunnel is that? Is it Pittsburgh? I mean, where is that? Does anybody know?
It could be the Armstrong Tunnel, which leads, I think, into Forbes and the underside on the other side. I believe so. It could be the Armstrong Tunnel. It's a short one.
Any other comments?
What's actually nice.
Oh, I think it's a great composition.
Yeah.
And I like the silhouette lighting. This is where a silhouette works.
Yeah.
And I like the curves. You have a combination of horizontal lines and curves and texture of brick.
Lots of different.
It's got everything you can want in it.
Yeah, curves.
It has deep blacks and it's got whites.
And like you said, the composition is really good. It comes off to the side here. So yeah, I like this.
It was a great shot.
Y'all keep an eye on the time there.
I missed what you were saying, Dennis.
So that was just a leaf that was plastered on the car window. I just like the contrast between the blue and the green.
Great.
That's cool.
This looks like it was, yeah, I like the contrast too. I really do. I like the veins on it and everything. But this looks like, this looks like part of the.
I don't know. It was on the car window. I didn't do anything to it.
It didn't do anything because
It's a little
it does
bug.
look like almost a composite, the way it is.
No.
I think that's reflecting off the other side of the glass.
It could be, yeah. It could be a reflection.
Because it looks like it's stuck because of water. You can see the lines of where
Right.
the water was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So other stuff could have been stuck too.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes you just see something and you have to take the picture because that pink in
It's
the
true.
background is a reflection of my hat, I think.
and
Right here.
I like where you put it.
I didn't
Where-
put it anywhere. That's where it was.
That's
No,
interesting because if
in
you
your,
do it
in your
well,
photo.
Yeah.
or when you are in competitions, that jurors will be looking for where you put the most significant object, or
Mhm.
what is the story about, and where did you put the subject of the story? And if you divide this up into thirds, it's in the lower right third. And what's interesting, if you go back through the albums from previous years of professional photographers winners, when they have these large, almost detail-less images, that the ones that put the image that is there in the lower right hand corner, don't ask me why, but those are the ones that seem to get chosen. So if it was going to be in a competition, I'd say you put it in the right place.
All except for my ostrich,
Oh, where's your ostrich? Where's
right
it?
smack in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, and you won it, huh?
And it won, yeah.
You did, I
Oh.
know.
Many
Was that one,
awards.
the little thing that was in his like fluff
Yeah,
was in like a thirds position too.
it was.
So I think that kind of tipped it over too.
Well, each picture, each image has its own merits, and you kind of have to digest what's in the image to decide, what is pertinent.
What's important.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. The light, the composition, the subject, tonality, the angles, form, moment, color, they all play a part.
Well, this is dead center, but I like it dead center. It's just a good
Mhm.
picture to me, It's black and white, which is it looks good in black and white, which coming from me, I'm not a black and white person, except for some of Dennis's, my gosh. But this one turned out really nice as far as I'm concerned. I like the subject. Did you put the watering can there, or?
No, that was, it's a farm down at Twin Falls State Park in West Virginia. It was just sitting there, if you will, hanging there.
Any other?
There's a couple things that I like about this one too. That is the control of the light and the way the grays and the blacks show up, the way the light part of the container makes it absolutely the subject, the main subject. There's a foreground, middle ground, background. The fact that it's in the middle might have been a problem, but because it has that nice tilt in it, I'm more interested in that tilt. I like the way it's tilted.
Yeah, and it doesn't bother me being in the middle at all. And
No.
I think it is because it is tilted.
Yeah,
I think-
I agree.
I think with the tilt and then the leading line of the fence is also tilted. It makes the illusion that it's not stretched in the middle.
Yeah, look at that horizontal lines at the lower third
Yeah.
horizontal.
Yeah,
You're
Yeah.
looking at the horizontal line as being more diagonal.
yeah,
It's good all the way around.
yeah, it is.
I
I do like it.
I like this one.
It'd be
I
a
do
contender.
too.
It'd be a contender.
Also, the way the fence posts, the tops of the fence post all come kind of to the V into the center, into the,
Yeah.
if you can, I just keep looking at that and seeing how they just bring you back. They both bring you from side to side, right back down to that, to the watering can. And I do like the control of depth of field
Yeah, I do too.
in this picture.
I can honestly say that, well, Brian knows I'm not a black and white person, but the club members are really, really doing some great jobs on black and white, and I'm enjoying them. So that's saying something. And Jim has really come up with some great black and white photos, as well as Dennis and the rest of y'all.
Well, this one was kind of, I mean, if you saw the color version, you'd say, oh, that's kind of a nice photo. But it had to be, this is one where you look at it, you just know it needs to be black.
It's got to be. I can't see it in color. I just cannot see it in color. I think that would have been distracting.
It takes you back to the time where they had those types of fences and those watering cans.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And it wasn't a colored time period. So.
No.
Yeah, I do like that one, Jim. I really do. It is 2 minutes till. We can do one more if you want to, or
Hold up, Margie.
yes.
More. Stop.
Wow.
See, that needs to, yeah.
That's a Phipps. Sooner or later, I'm gonna have to learn how to load the photos.
Go ahead, everybody.
I love that color.
Yeah. I like the positioning within the frame.
I
I'm
like
not-
the background a lot, especially
Yeah.
the bokeh. He's got bokeh coming up in there.
That
Some of the-
background really makes the pink pop.
Yeah.
Some of the branch on the left, but it's,
Yeah, the
but I
leaf.
think offsetting the flower makes it a lot more striking too.
This leaf here, I would like to have seen picked. You didn't hear me say that, but I think that would have made a better photo if this leaf here was gone. I don't know if you're allowed to move anything or touch any of the flowers.
No, you can, you just don't cut them off.
Oh, you can cut them off?
No.
No. I didn't think so.
But I certainly, if I'd have seen that, could have put it behind the panel.
Yeah.
But that's treated with the Lightroom masking tools. Lightroom will pick out that flower dead nuts. And then you can invert it and darken the background.
I do like that. And like I said, the one little leaf here, I would, nothing else, just clone it out. And it would have gave more focus on the flower, which is quite beautiful. But I love the background and I love the bokeh down here. It is just really nice. Okay, everyone. We'll have some left over next time because there's a bunch of them in here. Some fantastic photos. Really nice.
Thank you, Margie.
All righty, let me stop share. There you go.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, I think that was a pretty good meeting. It's now 9 o'clock. So we get a couple things coming up. I think our next actual thing together is going to be the photo walk, right? On the 26th. So how many people's planning on attending that one?
Where's that one at?
Old Bedford Village.
I might be able to do that because there's enough places that I can, rest. So that one I might be in shape to be able to walk a little bit. So I would love to go to it.
Okay.
I think Carolyn wants, Carol, yeah, I think Carol wants to go. So you can tentatively put us on there. And what is the charge for the admission?
I don't know right offhand, Rex. I'd have to look it up.
It really doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to get an idea because I know she's going to ask me.
You might check for the advanced purchase versus on-site purchase.
What was that, Dennis?
Check for advanced purchase
Okay, yeah, that's really what's it
Might save
doing.
a few bucks.
Yeah.
Advancing.
And they may have it for senior citizens too.
But also they may still be using time, right? Is it using the time
Right.
event? Yeah.
I doubt it.
No, they're not.
Oh, they're not? Okay.
Oh, that's good.
They don't do any, and they didn't do anything like that as far as timed events or anything like that.
Okay.
I was trying to find.
Brian, while you're looking, Pat and I are planning to attend, and I took Suzanne's photo from the museum because she couldn't make it the pickup date. And so she's talking, she was planning on being there as well. We're going to do a photo exchange with her.
Wait a minute. This Old Bedford, how far away is this Old Bedford village? Are we talking about? Oh, I may have hit that wrong, so cancel that. I was thinking of, there was another one we mentioned earlier, Yellow Dog Village was the one I think.
Yellow Dog is closed. I think maybe you're thinking of the
which one was it?
The Old Economy Village.
No, Old Economy is what it was. Yeah, that's the one I think she wants to go to.
Okay.
Old Economy.
Yeah, Rex will call you. Maybe we can go together.
Okay, that's a good one to go to.
Bedford Village.
For us. Yeah. No, not Bedford. Old Economy.
We've never been to Bedford.
Bedford's not that far. It's only
an hour from me, I think, at the most.
Yeah, it's only about an hour drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and the price for Old Bedford Village is for adults is $10, senior citizens is $9.
Well, Rex, if your concern is distance, to be quite honest, it's probably going to take longer to get to Old Economy Village than it would be
really?
Village.
Okay.
Old Economy is out by the Pittsburgh airport.
Well, at the Bedford, it's not just about the Westerns. They have a lot of activities going on. I know they had iron workers, they have pottery that you can take pictures of. There's so many items going on, events going on. It's not all just about, cowboys type of thing.
Yeah.
And what time are we supposed to be there? What time are we going to meet?
Give me 1 second here.
o'clock last month.
Was it 10 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock? Yeah, it opens at 9. So I plan to be there at 9 o'clock.
But you can be later if you want to.
Yeah, if you don't want to, if you don't want to be there right at 9 o'clock, that's fine. But I will be there by 9 o'clock. No.
Yeah, Dennis, when we can, we'll talk some more. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, I will see some of you at the Old Bedford Village, hopefully. And we'll go from there.
All right.
Thank y'all.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hi.